Welcome to the podcast, Joe. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me. I can't get anybody who wants to talk to me, so I'm just psyched to be here.
Well, we definitely want to talk to you. And first, we were researching a little bit and heard a very interesting story about a mentor you had very early in your career, if we could even call it that. At the age of 11, you had a crime boss living next door who became your mentor. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I grew up in a neighborhood that was riddled with organized crime. For whatever reason, four of the five family bosses moved to this neighborhood. It wasn't necessarily a neighborhood that you would envision, like cars burning. It's actually a really nice neighborhood. And my parents start to get divorced. My dad is having a really tough time with his business, and my neighbor, who's the boss of Banana Organized Crime Family at the time, sees what's going on, invites me over to the house on a Saturday morning, and says, "Hey, you can come clean the swimming pool. I'm going to pay you $35 a week." He had three daughters. I was like his son. I lived next door. I had red hair. I didn't really fit in the look of all these guys, with dark skin and dark hair. And I started cleaning the pool. And I'm cleaning the pool, and he says, "Kid," over the years, he taught me a bunch of lessons, but very early on, he said, "Kid, let me teach you a few things. If you're gonna be here at 8 a.m., you show up at 7:45. On time is late. You're gonna clean the pool, you go above and beyond. I want you to clean the shed, straighten up the lawn furniture, clean the windows. Even though I'm not paying you for that, you got to make yourself invaluable. When I come home, it's got to be like, oh my God, I can't live without this guy." And then third, never ask for money. You'll get paid when you provide value. And those were three lessons that just stuck with me throughout life that have worked in a big way. And so I like to tell them they came from the most unlikely source, but really valuable lesson.
Absolutely. And when it comes to starting out at 11, picking up on these life lessons, are you guys still in touch? And has he run a Spartan race?
He was on the lam for a while, which means he was in hiding. Then he was in jail. And yeah, we stopped communicating. God, how many years ago? I saw his wife many times because when my dad was alive, the wife was behind in the house. She was awesome. But I have not seen them in, God, I haven't seen him in 20 years. I haven't seen her in at least 10. Um, I can't say anything negative.
You know, this sort of sounds like um, a Bronx tale, right? And so I'm kind of curious to what your dad had to say while you were working for all of these guys and putting together a business that was dealing with all their pools, homes, cars, and all that.
Yeah, well, funny enough, the business turned into a business of just that. I had 700 customers at its peak. I paid for my way through college with it. And most of those customers, 70%, 500 of those customers were affiliated in some way with this way of life. And I was perfectly fine with it. I looked up to it. I mean, they look at children in Africa, for example, that grow up in places where there's lots of marathon runners, successful marathon runners, and they wonder, is it the air? Is it the water? What is it? No, what they find is not just in marathon running, anything, it's the young kids growing up seeing the previous runner who has a Mercedes up on the hill in the nice house, and the young kids want that. So I was no different. I was a young kid that wanted that. I wanted that big house. I wanted that respect, the nice cars, the rolls of $100 bills in the pocket, right? So there were lots of them. They were my customers. I was proud of it. I was happy with it. And my dad, I think my dad was happy that I was a hustler, that I got after it, that I worked hard. And I think he just made sure that I never crossed the line, right? He saw a lot of guys make the mistake, and my dad had to straddle the line. I come from an all Italian family. You could read between the lines. Not everybody went the right way. And so, my dad just, like any father would with his son and his daughter, was just making sure that I didn't cross the line. But it was hard because I wanted to cross the line, right? Just
I bet.
I wanted to. I sought it, and right. And the dad is trying to. I have children now. Kids don't listen to their dad or mom about eating healthy. Forget about like not doing bad stuff, right? Like we're attracted to it. We don't know any better. So anyway, he tried, and he succeeded. He succeeded. I got lucky. I ended up going to Wall Street, and I got my fix on Wall Street. And the funny thing is, not a lot of people know this. The funny thing is that neighbor, because he went to jail, he had a table at the hottest restaurant in New York called Rayo's. He had a standing table there, and I got that table. And that table really helped catapult me on Wall Street, because anybody would do business with you to get a seat at the table at Rayo's, right? Because when you're in there, you're with Denzel Washington, you're at the head of New York Stock Exchange, a couple of wise guys are in the corner. So that you could not get a seat at that table.
Obviously, having a seat at that table and parlaying it into Wall Street. Tell us a little bit of that backstory of how you leave the pool cleaning business and go on to Wall Street.
It was just serendipity. It was just, my mother wanted me out of the neighborhood. My sister and I. She moved us to Ithaca, New York, which was a little more forgiving, a little more hippie-ish. And she was at that time. She was a hippie, in the sense that she was into being a vegan, meditating, yoga, stuff that's cool now was not cool. and moves us to Ithaca. I'm going there kicking and screaming. No interest ever in going to college. Nobody's guiding me to college. Nobody's taking me on college tours or talking to me about. I don't know anything about it. I want to get back to the neighborhood. I want to be back with my dad. I want to be back with those guys. I got a business to run. And I meet a guy in Ithaca who's, my friend is dating a girl. The girl is Italian. The dad is very successful in the finance world. He manages money, from Ithaca, New York. He's a Cornell grad. And we clicked. And he sees something in me. He sees a spark. And he stays in touch with me more than the kid dating his daughter. And he says, "What are you doing when you graduate?" And I said, "I'm going to run my business." He says, "You're an idiot. You need to go to Wall Street." And I don't know anything about Wall Street. How the hell am I going to get to Wall Street? And he guides me there over a period of years, to the point where he finally convinces me, and I sell my business. And I cross the river, and I go to Wall Street, and I put on a suit, and it feels like I've arrived. Like, wow, I'm hanging. I'm literally, I got an office on Wall Street. This is unbelievable. And so that was the transition. The one thing I said I would never do, I said, in my lifetime, I'll never sit at a desk and just sit, typing. I'm never going to do that. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up on a desk. I ended up on a trading desk, and in front of computers all day, every day.
Many in our audience would love to have a mob boss mentor and a finance mentor to help pave that way for them. What are the lessons that you've learned along the way in terms of keeping mentors, attracting mentors, and obviously now mentoring others?
From people way smarter than me, much better educated. I've been told it's ridiculous how many meetings I take, how many people I talk to, how randomized it is. In other words, you should set out your strategy, figure out who your mentors are, who your friends are, who people you want to do business with. And I've just always taken an approach of just meeting lots of people. And I don't recall, but very recently, in the last few weeks, I just read something where somebody's actually done some work on this. And there actually is science as to why that works. So my message to people would be, I'm right. You should just meet lots of people. You should talk to lots of people. And obviously there'll be some bad apples in there. And you've got to, try to do your homework. But it leads you down roads that you otherwise wouldn't go down, right? It leads you places you think into things. I might not have made it to Wall. I might not have gotten the pool business. I might not have had a table so I just stay friendly with everybody, talk to everybody. And then you would be surprised how people just say yes. if you ask for help. Hey, I'd love to touch base with you once every 2 weeks. I don't want to waste your time. I'd love to pick your brain. Would you be my mentor? People say yes. I say yes. Now, if you don't listen to me, you send me long emails that I gotta read. You waste my, like, I'm not interested then. But if it's just very, very quick and I could help, of course. So my message to folks out there would be, talk to a lot of people. Don't sit on your couch waiting for like a meteorite to hit you in the head. Go out and get it. Make your own luck. Make your own connections. And then ask for the order, as we would say on Wall Street.
And certainly getting there early, going above and beyond when you do get that opportunity of a mentor sharing some information with you, following up, and then of course, not making it transactional, just about, hey, what can you do for me, goes a long way towards winning over these highly successful people who can guide you, who can shape you.
Yeah, you just made me remember something. I had cleaned the pool. For another boss, and he had said, hey, I need you to go to my partner's house. He's putting in a pool, such and such address, and no base in Brooklyn. When you get there, just wait outside. He'll come out. I waited for like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours, and I didn't go in. But at this point now, I'm losing the rest of my day. I got other jobs to go to. I'm pissing other people off. But I sense this is a pretty important one. Came out. I never saw the guy. Never came out. Came out years later. He was inside the house killing his architect, who had asked for money. So, point about not having, it could have detrimental effects, right? You want to add value before you ask.
Yeah, that's a life and death ask right there.
But it really put a fine point on it for me.
Absolutely. And now as a parent, and we'll get into the Spartan values, and we sort of laughed about this earlier, Spartan household, what are those lessons and values that you're bringing to your kids to help them reach the same level of success?
I had a huge advantage, right? I had my dad. I didn't know it was an advantage at the time, but anytime we sat around, my dad was talking about business. So-and-so just opened up a pizza place. He's selling those pizzas for, $11 a pie. They're probably costing him $3. And it was just regular conversation. He was holding a college class for me. I didn't know it. Constantly talking about business. And so even, just through osmosis, I was picking it up. So I need to do that more. I'm not doing that enough. What I am doing a lot of is, hey, we work hard. We might not be the smartest. We might not be the best looking, whatever, but we fucking work hard. That's what we do. And so these kids are up every morning, and they work. And you heard my wife earlier, all right, we're going to learn Latin. I never learned Latin, but I know a lot of smart people that know Latin, so we're going to learn Latin. Oh, and by the way, you're going to speak Mandarin. You're going to speak Spanish. We're going to do math every day. And just when you think, we finally got a moment to breathe, we're going to do more work, because that's what we do. We work hard.
Right.
That's the ethos here in this house. We eat healthy, and we train, and we sweat. We take care of ourselves. And so, I definitely need more of those lessons that I'm slowly seeping into their brains on business. But because they're going to have to survive. They're going to have to figure out a way to make a living, right? I don't want them to live in the basement.
Well, one of the things that for our programs and the fathers that come in, is to make them aware of how much children are watching them and picking things up. And they may not be getting the lesson that you want them to get in that moment when you sit them down, but they're picking up everything else. The minute you sit them down and tell them, this is what I want you to learn, it goes in one ear, out the other. However, your behaviors, the way you think, the way you frame things, your perspectives, all that after years, they pick up and they start implementing in their own lives. And something that you mentioned there is very important right now. This is a difficult time with COVID and everything. But the one thing that you do not hear a lot in the media is what we need to do for our own health, for our own immune systems and to eat, to stay healthy. And I would love to hear your take on that and what you have for your coaching clients and for your children in this time when getting sick is certainly on everyone's minds.
Well, first of all, you got to get outside. But let's who the hell am I to give advice on this stuff? I certainly didn't study it formally, right? I'm not a doctor. My mom was into this in the 70s. And, the first race she introduced us to was a 3,100-mile run around a 1-mile loop. And so we got to test. I didn't do that event, but we got to test ourselves doing really tough events all over the world and find out what works and what doesn't for our bodies, our brains. And over time, at least for me, I found a couple of, I can't even call them hacks, but they're really ancient, methodologies, principles, whatever you want to call them, that if you do them on a daily basis, you'll be a little harder to kill. So wake up early and sweat. Don't tell me I'm a night person. I like to. That's great. Wake up early and sweat. Your day's going to go better. Drink water first thing in the morning. Room temperature water. Chug it. You've got a bunch of your body's very much like a swimming pool. Remember, I'm a swimming pool expert. I'm an expert at a lot of things. I'm a swimming pool expert. Your body's very much like a swimming pool. A swimming pool is 20,000 gallons, depending on the size. Let's call it 20,000 gallons. Has a pump and a filter. Human body, somewhere between, let's call it 10 gallons of water, has pumps and a pump and some filters. Your heart obviously is the pump. You've got the liver, the kidney, the lungs. In the morning, when you wake up, you chug 2 big glasses of water, minimum room temperature. You're flushing out the filters. Guys, guess what happens when you turn the pump off on a swimming pool? When you don't run that pump for 3 days, the pool starts to turn green. What happens to your body? That's exactly what happens. You've got to run that pump. You've got to clean those filters. And by the way, guys, if I was to take the amount of stuff that we eat on a daily basis on average, the ice cream, the French fries, the Cokes, and pour it into a big 20,000 gallon swimming pool, the pool would turn green. It wouldn't be able to filter out all that shit that we eat. We're expecting these little swimming pools, our bodies, to deal with all this stuff. Not that I'm a conspiracy guy, simply because we're sold a bunch of BS. So if you want to be healthy, you literally are what you eat. You got to sweat. You got to run the pump. You got to, you got to work out, and then you got to eat as clean as you can. You don't need all this extra stuff that we're being sold. You don't need it. I don't need it. I'm particular. You're listening to me, and I still consume 50% more stuff than I need. And I know it because I've been out there for 20, 30 days doing events, carrying my own water and food. I've done it with very limited. You don't need very much. So wake up in the morning, drink the water, sweat, take an ice cold shower. My mother was pushing cold showers in the 70s, well before Wim Hof. He's awesome, by the way. I'm not nothing against him. Make sure you breathe. We're definitely not breathing enough. We're spending most of our free time on, put the device down. Don't spend all your free time on the device. Eat as much salad in volume as you do other stuff. Can't eat enough veggies. Lean more towards veggies. This whole idea, by the way, I love you walk into a restaurant these days. What protein are you having?
Yeah.
There's never been a protein deficiency in the history of there's no protein deficiency. This whole protein thing is an economic business discussion. Now, if you want 24-inch biceps, yeah, load up on the protein. But as my friend Dr. Bishi says, you'll be the guy with the biggest biceps in the cemetery. So if the goal is to outlive your competition, eat less animal protein, eat more veggies, get to bed early. You gotta sleep, get to bed early. By the way, you could do another cold shower before you go to bed. You're gonna sleep better. It's not that hard. Really not that hard.
Now, when we think of working on Wall Street, we don't think of health being at the forefront. We think of long hours, packing it in, and not getting exercise in. These lessons that your mom taught you, did these carry through your experience in Wall Street? And is that how you were motivating yourself and getting it done?
I had gone off the rails when I first got on Wall Street, and I was so enamored with the big dinners, $500 dinners, $10, like crazy expensive things, and it was fun and exciting coming out of Queens, New York. But very quickly I started to feel unhealthy. The pool was turning green, right? And I
Yeah.
needed to feel healthy again, and so I started running up and down the stairs and in my building and sweating and feeling alive again and eating healthy and doing hot yoga. And then I started to brand myself as this guy on Wall Street that pushed all these things as opposed to the dinners and the drinking. I was at the other end of the spectrum, and it really separated me from my competition. It was very healthy. I helped guys run marathons. I did all kinds of crazy things that, again, were not popular in finance at the time,
Yeah.
which is great for me because it helped me stand out and build a brand for myself.
And how did that parlay into launching the Spartan race?
Well, I was doing a lot of races myself, and I can't help it. I'm just a glutton for punishment. I'm an entrepreneur, and probably sometime in 1999, I said, I could do this as a business. This would be a lot of fun. Why don't I get this going? And then someday when I leave Wall Street, I'll have this business stood up. And I putzed around and try to get it going. But the reality is, if you don't focus on something, it doesn't happen on its own. And so I lost money for 10 years from 2000 to 2010. My first iteration of this was called Peak, PEAK.com. How do you become your peak, your best version of yourself? And then 2010, changed the name to Spartan because I couldn't really get it to work. The race format I had wasn't working. The races I was putting on at first were 350 miles long. There weren't too many people signing up for that. Changed it 2010 to Spartan, obstacle racing, barbed wire fire, very much military inspired. And I wish I could tell you it worked immediately. It didn't work immediately. It was probably 5 years from probably 2015, so 15 years in total before I got any money really dropping to the bottom line. It was 15 years of hell. And by the way, the reason is simple. Human beings are lazy. We are wired to be lazy, to avoid discomfort at all costs. That's why we go to our phone in the morning and check emails before we do the workout. We don't even know it's happening. It's all subconscious to keep us alive as a species. Don't go too close to that cliff. Don't go out in the cold and freeze to death, right? We avoid discomfort. And I sell discomfort. So I'm selling discomfort to a species that doesn't want any of it. It's no wonder, and that's why we sell so much shit to people. That's why we sell, caffeinated, sugarized, caramelized cereal, I think is the new thing Dunkin' Donuts came out with. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
So what was the first race that sort of took off, that format and formula that really set the bar for you guys and got things rolling?
I mean, that first Spartan event was a 3-mile sprint, we called it. Probably 10 obstacles at that event in Vermont. And, 700 people showed up. Doesn't sound like a lot, and I couldn't make the economics work with 700 people, but put it in perspective, that 700 people was more cumulatively than I had in the 10 years preceding to all the events over 10 years. So I was clearly onto something. That was it. Took off. Took 5 years to take off, but it took off.
Right. When many people think of Spartan races, they think of the obstacles, and they are pretty crazy. They are pretty out there. Who is designing these obstacles? Are you playing a heavy role in that from the beginning and still, or is it now onto your team and building out these courses?
We got really lucky. We had a bunch of teams, a bunch of members of the team that are super resilient, incredibly dedicated, tightened their belt throughout the years every time we needed help, including now with COVID. And as you ask that question, The only obstacle I might have come up with myself is the barbed wire. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking as I talk to you. No one's ever asked me that question. I think that's the only. I think my team pretty much came up with every other obstacle. Spear throw makes sense. We used to throw spears as humans. We should, you know, dust off that skill.
Would you say it was a bit of a marketing issue? Because when I think of Spartan races or any of the obstacle races that are now, how they're marketing is you do this, you're going to be confident, you're going to be better, you're going to be this person, you're going to be that person. It gives everyone an opportunity to push themselves, to set a date, to train. And there is, you were selling them what they're going to be and how they're going to feel after this, rather than the sell of, hey, you want to go run this many miles? Why or no? So would you say it was a marketing shift that allowed things to click?
I think it worked. I think we had a couple of things in the environment that helped us. I think there were a lot of folks coming back from the Middle East that had, enlisted in the military here in the US. I think CrossFit was becoming popular. I think Facebook was becoming popular. Smartphones were becoming popular, so you could see images of your friends doing stuff. So those were little psychological nudges that, wait a minute, my friend is having fun under barbed wire and then we branded it in a way like you described, like, because it was true. When you got to the finish line, you were no longer a mom, you were a Marine. You were no longer a Marine, you were a monk, right? You're no longer a monk, you were God. Like you moved up the ranks in whatever game you were playing in your life. So our first tagline was, "You'll know at the finish line," simply because I didn't know of another tagline to use, and it was so like there was nothing I could tell you that would get you to do this. Like, it was just, trust me, at the finish line, you will be a new person.
So I've noticed that the races are going on right now with COVID, and I would love to hear what safety measures and precautions that you guys have went out of your way to put together so that people will feel safe while all of this is going on, to still challenge themselves and to be better.
Well, I mistakenly thought we'd be back up and running by July. Florida, the state of Florida, gave us an opportunity in June to put on an event. We jumped at the chance, and we put all the safety measures in place, which cost a fortune, which slightly changed the event in the sense we had to keep people separated. They did not have to run with masks on, but all the staff had masks on. We had all the hand washing stations. I have to say, not because it's my company, but the team did an unbelievable. It was much more professional than I would have even pushed for, in the sense that, like, Spartan is known to get people dirty, right? We're not but the team, it was tight. They ran an unbelievable operation. But even with that, the problem is the states were not opening up. So if I announce that I'm going to have a race in such and such, and then all of a sudden the rules changed, I've just pissed off all my customers. So right now we're thriving, believe it or not. Here's a little bit of information that nobody knows. We are thriving now in China. China's back up, fully running. Eastern Europe, back up and fully running. So, but the US, I'm shut down right now. For whatever reason, it's a political battle. I think as a country, we're incredibly unhealthy, and we're paying the price for it now. We're paying the price for our short-term thinking.
Yeah, I know we were hoping to make the Southern California end of October race with some of our guys, and we were excited about completing it, and obviously it got postponed. The sad part about it, obviously, is physical health is what can actually protect us from this terrible virus. And many of us have chosen the safe and comfortable route to not take care of our bodies, not watch what we eat, not do everything we can to support our immune system. And we're certainly seeing the downsides of that. When it comes to building grit and resilience, which I think is so key with what's going on in COVID, is so key in business, and it's part of the 10 principles of the Spartan Way, which we love. I think we would love to hear from you. 15 years to success, right? Sticking with it. What did you learn along the way, and how did you keep going through all of those setbacks and something that you really love?
Well, first, let's tackle the first part of the question. Let's just talk about there's unintended consequences to locking everybody up in their homes, and I get it. If you're out there and you're seeing the headline number 200,000 people died, you're frightened. And you're saying we need to just stay in our houses. But I just want you to consider, people do go to grocery stores and they do touch stuff. And then other people touch stuff. And they do pump gas. And like at some point, we have to do certain aspects of our life. If we come in contact with folks, it's a lot less dangerous to be outside and to be running, to your point, and breathing and sweating and working and building your immune system than it is to be sitting on the couch and then potentially coming in contact with the virus at the grocery store. And I'm not suggesting people stop shopping. I'm just saying, wake up, because unless you completely surrounded yourself in plexiglass and have not left your living room, which is not the case for most people, you're coming in contact with germs. So if you're going to be okay with coming in contact with germs, let's get you outside. Let's get a date on your calendar, something that you're going to train for. A kid does not train for a wrestling tournament until he knows there's a wrestling tournament. You can tell a kid to train hard, but as soon as he knows that October 31st is a tournament, he or she will train really hard for it. That's just the way we work as human beings. So that's the first part. The second part, how the hell did I stay focused and keep my head down during 15 years of losing money? I get really focused on the goal. I don't like to lose. I go public with commitments. I'm telling everybody this is going to work. This is going to work. Now I have to make it work. I back myself into a corner. I don't have a plan B, because plan Bs will get you to quit. I don't like to give up on things. I twist and turn. And by the way, you hear it all the time about businesses that succeeded. They probably failed along the way. We failed a lot along the way. We fell down. We got stuck. Yeah. I don't know if I answered it well.
Well, I know many in our audience have contemplated starting a business, have thought about making a career change. And of course, not only do we have this innate need to feel comfortable and safe, but our loved ones and the people that care about us also want to protect us, and will often be the ones who tell us that's a terrible idea. Give up on the Spartan race. What are you doing for 15 years? How do you silence the negative feedback that you're getting from the people that love and support you when their intention is just to keep you safe and protect you and hope to keep you on a successful track?
But that's like anything worthwhile doing. I've created this this map. And I show it when I give speeches, and the map shows the journey towards success. And in that journey towards success, obviously you commit first, and then your excitement level diminishes from there. Like, think about it. That's the moment where you're like, oh, I'm getting married. It's great. And then excitement dwindles, right? Or I'm going to go to the gym, and you're excited when you sign up, but then you don't even go, right? And so that's the beginning of the journey towards success. And there's a moment when you get to the valley of death where nothing's working, right? You're not going to the gym anymore, blah, blah, blah. And that's usually when the naysayers show up. I told you not to do that, blah, blah, blah. Because misery likes company.
So building that resiliency and that grit to keep going when it seems like everything's stacked against you. Certainly those who are running the Spartan race have those gut check moments at the obstacles, at the end. And that is so important to realize that that's a part of the successful process, and mapping that out. Like, there's going to be the lows, and those who succeed are the ones who have the fortitude to push through those lows.
Yeah. It's, they say the tree that's the tallest in the forest gets the sunlight, right? the beautiful thing about human beings and what you're talking about, it doesn't require very much effort to be the tallest tree in the forest, right? Like, especially in a world today when I think about kids where they're not doing the work, they're not doing the physical education, not putting in the time that they used to put in because they're so stuck on devices. I tell my kids, hey, it doesn't require very much to stand out. If everybody was training every day and getting after it, if every business was sticking it out, it'd be so easy. I mean, it'd be so hard at that point but now people tap out. And so to be a success, I had 800 competitors when I started this business. 800 other race companies had tried to do what we're doing. They all quit. They all quit. We didn't quit. We weren't smart. We had a better name maybe, but we weren't smarter. We just didn't quit.
How did the Spartan Way come together? The book with the 10 principles and the Spartan lifestyle, obviously it's a big part of the brand, but those core values ring true personally for you as well as the race itself.
Spartan Way, I was really interested in the journey to success that I messaged before to you, and I had given this idea away at a bunch of conferences where I spoke, and I just thought, you know what? These are ancient principles. If you master these principles, you'll succeed at anything in life. So let's put it in a book and get it out there. And that's how it came about. But I think it's applicable. The funny thing is when that book was done and I was given a talk to Delta Force, which doesn't exist. I was there and I was talking to those operators, and one of the operators said, Joe, we agree on every principle, but there's one that's missing. I said, what? They said, community. You don't do anything alone. And I said, damn it. We just went to print. So I had to figure out a way to add that one more principle. They were right. They were right. Yeah. Nothing alone. And even the ancient Spartans believed the only way to be successful in doing what they wanted to do was to make sure everybody was aligned. They surrounded themselves with like-minded people.
And I think that's one of the credits to the race. You see time and time again, people helping each other over those obstacles. It's not just about your own personal glory, but everyone participating in that community to reach beyond what they think they're capable of.
No doubt about it. If you worked out alone this morning, you'd go to level 2. I might go to level 2 in my garage. We show up next to each other. We don't have to say anything. We're now both at level 5. Somebody else shows up, we're going to level 6. You don't even have to say anything.
And we all have that governor, that internal, well, this is too hard. I want to be safe and I'm just going to push as hard as I can. And the second other people join in, that's alleviated.
Game on.
Yeah. And that competitive nature shines through. We also love this principle of optimism, and I think it's so important, especially as the pandemic has gone on and many of us are facing difficulties in our lives. What do you do as a daily practice or a part of your life to keep optimistic with everything else going on around you?
I would say you got to fake it. You got to fake optimism, but studies show, science shows that even when you're not feeling it, even when everything's going, by the way, you want to be around people that aren't optimistic. Like, think about last time you took an Uber or met a waiter or waitress and they were miserable. You don't want to be around people like that. So optimistic people attract people. They become leaders, and you make your own luck. And the more optimistic you are, the more luck you have.
You know, like that pool analogy that you use, people need to reboot every morning. Each and every day just adds more trauma, more loss, more things to do, another day of age. And it's difficult to gain that perspective of how much things start to accumulate and start to weigh you down and start to beat you up a little bit. And it takes community for somebody to say, hey, you're not where you used to be. Anything going on? Oh, I didn't even think about that. And that opportunity to sweat it out in the morning, first thing, that's your reboot. That will put you in a place to look at the rest of the day and think about what you want to accomplish.
The technical term for those that did not clean pools for a living is backwash. You need to backwash the filter, clean the skimmers. And I would say, yes, first thing in the morning, we need to clean the skimmers and backwash the filters.
In a lot of ways, we talked about the physical, the mental side of that is cleaning out the complaints and facing the reality. I think many of us choose the easier path and we just complain about all of life's difficulties and frustrations, but we don't actually tackle them head on, and we don't actually clean our mental filters, which are just as important as the physical filters.
No doubt about it. And people talk about meditating. Well, I get to a meditative state working out and sweating in my work. It clears your mind. And anybody who doesn't believe that, just go on a run or a walk or a ruck, do an opposite, whatever. You get to a place where you just want water, food, and shelter. It's a really quiet place. Everything has left your mind except water, food, and shelter.
1000%. I think it's so easy in modernity to take the simple route and the safe route. And now we can get everything delivered to us. We don't even have to leave the house. We don't have to sweat if we don't want to. We don't have to do the hard stuff. But choosing the hard stuff is success is just the other side.
No doubt about it. By the way, at the end of our lives, we're not going to talk about the easy stuff. I'm not going to say, sitting on a rocking chair, man, we should have watched more Netflix. Not a chance. You're going to say, remember that time we went whitewater rafting and the raft broke and we almost died and we got washed up on shore? And then there was a grizzly that chased us. Like, those are the things we're going to remember and talk about.
Joe, there was something I picked up. I was in doing some research for this. I had an opportunity to watch the interview you did with Rogan, and I was laughing. There was this kettlebell story, but to go along with that is that you help a lot of people lose a lot of weight, and some of those stories were quite tremendous. And I imagine there's going to be a talk before that mentorship and that coaching program starts about the journey that they are about to go on, that they're going to need to surrender to. And I would love to hear how you at least breach that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as, hey, Mr. or Mrs., give me the keys to your car and your wallet. You're on lockdown. Your way has not worked. And so this is the way we're doing it. And it doesn't work any other way. So, and then they break down and they kick and scream and they want to go see a doctor because they need to get their liver levels checked. All of that nonsense. That's just the brain trying to get out of the discomfort of doing the work.
Could you give our listeners a little background of what that looks like? What I'm referring to is this farm and this land and the runs and the walks that they're going to be going on every day. I was I'm not only amused, but intrigued by all of it.
Yeah, we have a 700-acre farm up in Vermont where Spartan was basically started. And there's a mountain in the background. We put in a stone staircase from the bottom of the mountain to the top. We did that by hand with a bunch of victims, we call them, that to a race on the farm. And greenhouses. And for whatever reason, it's just a really rugged place. The weather's rugged. And we just torture people there. And what comes out of it is a better version of yourself. You're going to lose weight. You're going to clear your mind. You're going to be more resilient. You're going to find out what's really important to you. Hopefully along the way, you build something cool on the property. It could be a cabin, or one guy built a little outdoor pizza oven. We just have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun on the farm.
How long did the retreats for these participants last?
Until they quit. Some people leave after hours. Some people leave after a few weeks. I think the longest tour of duty we had was a guy named Mark Jones. Might have been 2 years. Might have been a year and a half, 2 years. He said it saved his life. He was a veteran. Had some tough times and came to the farm, and we just killed him. But he was hard to kill. He was unbreakable.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, he needed it.
Well, I think many in our audience listening recognize the importance of pushing ourselves physically and mentally to succeed. And taking on those big fears. And if you don't tackle those fears, they will tackle you. And I feel with the races and everything you've built with the Spartan brand, it really is about that mental toughness and fortitude and challenging yourself. And I'd love to hear from you what your next challenges are to keep yourself sharp, to keep yourself motivated as we round out this 2020, which has been a trying year for many of us.
My next challenge is to make it through tomorrow. I'm going day by day. I'm shut down outside of China and some spotty countries around the world. I'm shut down. I've got still a large staff to carry. I'm surviving like all of us. So that's my goal. Haven't forgotten my family, pushing hard on, the standards don't change. Doesn't matter what's going on here, guys. The standards don't change. So we're still holding ourselves to these tough standards, working out every day. As soon as I'm done with this podcast, I'm heading over to check on my son doing wrestling practice. I got to check on this Latin situation. And then, we got some other brands, like Deca is a new brand for us under the Spartan umbrella. La Ruta is a brand we purchased right before COVID hit. Tough Mudder we purchased before COVID hit. So we got some work ahead of us.
Yeah. And we love asking all of our guests what their X factor is, what sets them apart to make them successful. And we think of our X factor as a blend of skill and mindset. What do you think you bring to the table as your X factor?
I think I'm able to inspire people to do things they otherwise wouldn't do. And I think I'm kind of like a battery that just never dies.
Such a powerful mindset. There's no reason to quit.
When you look at my battery, they tell me it looks like it's always about to die, but it just doesn't die.
I would imagine you hear from your children, your family here and there, like, Dad, can we just give it a break for a moment?
We love to end every show with the challenge for our audience. I have a feeling yours is going to be physical. What would you like to challenge our audience to do this week to push their edge and build that mental toughness?
I'll change your life in 30 days if you're listening to this. Ready? I want you to wake up early, drink 2 room temperature glasses of water fast, knock out 30 burpees, and take a cold shower.
Boom.
30-day Joe challenge. 2 big glasses of water. You have to do the 30 burpees, get a sweat on, do it fast, make sure you're sweating, jump in a cold shower. That's it. Can't do that. Shouldn't even be on this planet. Move to another planet.
I love it. Thank you for joining us and your family. It was great meeting them and the doggo. Have a wonderful Tuesday. We appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great week, Joe. Thank you.